Declassified documents link U.S. bioweapons program to Lyme disease outbreak.
Hello, I am Dr. K. Paul Stoller, and when I started treating Lyme disease 25 years ago, I actually went to the CDC to find out what the heck their problem was. I was quietly told, whenever the government has played a role in creating a problem, they will always obfuscate that problem. I do have a webinar on treating Lyme disease at K, ENNETHSTOLLERMD.com. If you find this video of interest, you should check it out. The organism that causes Lyme disease has always been with us on this planet, but it was made far more virulent via gain-of-function work by our own government.
America's most widespread disease was not a natural occurrence, but the result of a decade-long government bioweapons program. This was long before the COVID bioweapon. Declassified documents now reveal a chilling connection between U.S. military experiments and the emergence of Lyme disease, a disease that now affects hundreds of thousands of Americans every year. An extensive investigation based on declassified government documents has uncovered compelling evidence that U.S. biological weapons programs contributed to the emergence of Lyme disease. The investigation reveals a pattern of concealment spanning 6 decades, including the systematic suppression of critical medical research and the release of nearly 300,000 radioactive ticks across Virginia to study how disease-carrying insects would spread. Between 1966 and 1969, the U.S. military released 300,000 Lone Star ticks made radioactive with carbon-14 across Virginia sites along bird migration routes. Before these experiments, Lone Star ticks were not found above the Mason-Dixon line. Within years of the Virginia releases, they had established populations on Long Island for the first time. The bioweapons program extended beyond domestic borders. Declassified documents and testimony from a CIA operative describe the 1962 deployment of infected ticks against Cuban sugarcane workers as part of Operation Mongoose, the Kennedy administration's effort to destabilize Fidel Castro's regime. The operative described flying nighttime missions, almost skimming the surface of the Caribbean to avoid Cuban radar, dropping infected ticks on workers below. After returning, his CIA commander advised him to remove all his clothes and burn them, indicating serious contamination concerns. Plum Island Animal Disease Center sits just about 13 miles from Lyme, Connecticut, where the disease was first identified. From 1952 to 1969, the facility was managed by the Army Chemical Corps for Biological Warfare Research. The facility frequently conducted experiments outdoors, with acknowledged containment failures where deer from Lyme regularly swam to Plum Island, and local birds flew there to feed on insects, creating direct pathways for laboratory pathogens to reach wild populations. In 2014, researchers discovered extensive unpublished materials in the garage of deceased scientist Willy Bergdorfer, the man who identified the bacterium that causes Lyme disease. The materials revealed that Bergdorfer had found a second pathogen called Swiss agent in Lyme patient blood samples from Connecticut and Long Island in the late 1970s. The Swiss agent, sometimes mentioned in the context of Lyme disease research, is spiroplasma, specifically strains related to Spiroplasma mirum, and while some believe it is a co-infection, evidence is limited. Blood from Lyme patients showed the presence of spiroplasma, but this finding was completely omitted from Bergdorfer's landmark 1982 study. The suppression of this research for over 40 years may have contributed to treatment failures in chronic Lyme patients. Before his death in 2014, Bergdorfer left a note stating, "I wondered why somebody didn't do something." After cameras stopped rolling during his final interview, he smiled and said, "I didn't tell you everything, but try as researchers might, they couldn't get him to say more." Defense Secretary Robert McNamara authorized Project 112 in 1962, creating what researchers describe as a bioweapons program almost as large and secretive as the Manhattan Project. The program involved 134 scheduled tests from 1962 to 1974, with production facilities capable of breeding 100 million infected mosquitoes monthly and 50 million fleas weekly. The program's existence was categorically denied by the military until 2000, when a CBS News investigation forced acknowledgement. Documents show the program involved every branch of the U.S. Armed Services and intelligence agencies. The Long Island Sound region experienced an unprecedented outbreak of tick-borne diseases beginning in 1968. 1968. First Eastern U.S. human babesiosis cases appear on Nantucket. 1968. Rocky Mountain spotted fever appears in the Cape Cod region. 1970. Hundreds of Rocky Mountain spotted fever cases documented on Long Island. 1972. First 51 documented Lyme arthritis cases in Old Lyme, Connecticut. As one analysis noted, if you drew a circle around the area of the world heavily impacted by Lyme disease, the center of that circle was Plum Island. The investigation identified a systematic pattern of concealment spanning multiple decades. Project 112 was denied for 50 years despite extensive documentation. Swiss agent research was suppressed despite public health relevance. Laboratory origin questions were characterized as conspiracy theories. Congressional investigation requirements were actively resisted. In 2019, the House passed an amendment requiring the Pentagon to investigate whether the military experimented with ticks and other insects regarding use as a biological weapon between 1950 and 1975. That investigation continues today. The evidence is clear. U.S. bioweapons programs likely contributed to America's Lyme disease epidemic. Decades of concealment, suppressed research, and institutional denial have left millions of Americans suffering without adequate treatment or answers. It's time to demand complete transparency, independent investigation, and accountability for the decisions that may have unleashed this epidemic on the American public. Learn more at kennethstollermd.com, where I have a very comprehensive webinar on treating this infection. Share this video to spread awareness. The fight for transparency and biological security continues. Let's make sure every voice is heard.